changes based on your monster's element and also changes based on what you have equipped. So if you have a sword, you'll use the sword version of your monster's spell in the element of your monster. If you have a wand, you'll use the wand version. If you have your fists, you'll use the fist version. There's actually 3 versions. And there are certain combinations, and all the combinations are sword, because sword is favored in this game. There's there's 2 lines of monster spells that if you put them on provide spell backup, when you use it, something really cool happens. And I don't want to give it away, but when I do get a monster that's capable of doing that and a sword, I'll show you guys, so remember that I said this. And 4 is attack directly. 4 is what I normally use. 4 will cause your monster to, when it sees something, it will attack it directly, but it will not favor its spells unless what it's trying to attack is out of range. Which keeps you from running out of MP, because in this game, when you run out of MP, your monster collapses and becomes helpless. That's not good. You don't want that.
Nope.
5 is be aggressive. Your monster will be slinging spells all over the place, losing its mind. The monster could be 1 square from you, and it will still shoot a spell at it. I mean, this is all out. This is for monsters that have tons of MP, or you don't care, or you really just do not want to die and you want to try to do as much damage as possible. This is your boss fight setting right here. Don't waste it on normal levels. So I'm just going to go with attack directly for now. Although I might use provide spell backup if I want to. And here's the thing. Kewne is going to guide you through this basic level and explain to you the kinds of things that can happen. And because you guys have never seen it, we might as well, let him do it. So once you've been to a place, it'll show up on the small map. The map in this game you will never use. I promise you right now, I'm going to bring up the map just so you guys know that the game does have a map. It's one of these maps where if you haven't been there yet, there isn't anything there.
But the levels change constantly.
Yeah, this map there's no point to this map. I promise you there's no point to this map. The only point to this map is there's an item called the Star Specs that you can pick up randomly, and the Star Specs will illuminate the entire map. If you pick up one of those, then it's worthwhile to look at the map. But things like items and stuff like that do not appear on the map unless you have other items, which will illuminate. There's an item you can pick up that illuminates all items on the map. If by chance in your inventory at the same time you have an item that illuminates all items, or illuminates all enemies, or illuminates all traps, and an item that illuminates the whole map at the same time, then the map is useful. Otherwise, never use this map. What you do is you wander around. That's an orb, sealed in magic. These are actually really useful, and you should always pick them up. Always. It lets you use a spell, basically for free, and they usually have about a 5 range on the distance you can shoot the spell. And they only have so many charges, and you can't see how many charges you have on it, unless you have another item called the True Spec. The game has a lot of hidden variables, like how strong weapons are, how many charges you have on stuff. A lot of these will be hidden. We just picked up, this is a basic weapon. This is the crook, it's a wand. I'm gonna arm it. The thing about weapons in this game is when you pick them up, see how that crook, next to the little icon picture of the crook on the right, if this wasn't the very beginning of the game, there would be a number that would say how strong the crook was. Because this is the very first level, this is a 0 power crook.
Oh god.
Like, it does damage, but it does the very basic amount of damage a crook can do.
You got a stick?
Yeah, I have stick. As you go up in the game, there will be numbers next to that tell you how strong the crook is, or whatever it is. But you can't see that number until you equip it. But this game is one of those old games where some weapons you pick up are cursed. You can't know that they're cursed until you equip them, and you can't know how strong they are until you equip them, and equipping a cursed weapon obviously means you cannot unequip it. Oddly enough, some weapons are worth more cursed when you sell them to the shop, because once you get out of the tower, you can just sell it no problem. Of course, since we're not going to be using any wind gems, we're only going to be leaving the tower by dying, so I'll never get to sell anything. I'm going to be so poor. We're going to be poor.
Just like in real life.
Oh, unfortunately. You can't use it unless you ready it. Go to I just explained this here. You gotta equip your weapon.
You got it.
I got it down. Gear with numbers after the name or more power. Yes, yes. You know, you can actually put your monster away and he won't explain any of this to you, and I think I'm gonna do that, just because I can explain everything that we're coming up to. Oh, also, let me explain this to you. This is your interaction with your monster menu. The thing you're going to be doing most often is status.
Oh, so he actually looks kind of cool now.
He is kind of cool. It's just that he's not kind of cool after a while. You know, species, Kewne, condition, fine. There are conditions in this game. A lot of them are really debilitating, actually. You don't want to... Confusion is the worst, but...
It's always the worst. Confusion
no,
is
there's turned into a frog, which is worse than confusion. But...
I haven't played a game that's done that.
That's an old game thing. Games don't do that anymore. Right now, you can see he's a fire element, level 1. He's got a little bit of HP, and actually a decent starter amount of MP. His magic spell is a red shot, which will change if you put him on provide spell backup. Incinerate the enemy with fire. He can do some basic fire magic, and when you hit A, that SP, PWR, that's your monster's abilities. Kewne starts with anti-hypno, which means that he cannot be brainwashed, and any monsters with you cannot be brainwashed. And brainwash is a condition, which you run into pretty early in the game, but obviously with Kewne with you, you won't.
Too bad he didn't have that when he lost his memory.
Nothing he told you was true. Anyway, past data. The past data will tell you things about this monster in previous versions of it because this game expects you to do a lot of fusion. So it'll show you like how many fusions and who the monster used to belong to, because you could trade with this game if you had a link cable. Although obviously we're not going to be doing that, but it would have information on who the previous master was and stuff like that. And that's not going to... We're probably never going to see that again, that menu. And so that's it. This is our Kewne. And Collar will either bring the monster out or put it back. Never pick this second option, however. The bane of my existence has been when my finger slipped and I hit this. Send back will, without prompting you, are you sure, yes or no, take your monster and beam it back to the town. No way at all to get it back. I have had to abort crawls into the dungeon of this tower at like floor 70 because I accidentally sent back the monster I was using. Now the reason this exists is because you can only carry 5 monsters with you, so let's say you've got 5 monsters, you pick up an egg, you hatch it and you want to use it for some reason, you're going to have to send one of your monsters with you back. But most of the time, never pick this, don't even look at it. And you can access the plan from here, but no one ever does that because when you're thinking about plan, you just get it right from this menu. And that's about it. That's how you use your... This is how you use the flame orb. Actually, this is the way you use orbs is actually pretty interesting. You use the orb, but then you're not using it yet. You have this little targeting ring, and that lets you determine which way you want to shoot the orb. Don't just double tap.
Diagonal.
No, this game does not possess diagonal.
There's never diagonal
for anyone. And you cancel that because I don't want to use it. And Vit Seed is something you feed to your monster to increase their MP. Also, you should be able to hit select. No, it's start. You hit start on items and it'll tell you what they do.
I'd have never figured that out.
In old school Game Boy, not enough text, so that items that have complicated functions will have a sentence that doesn't really make sense. It's one of those games. And so let's put Kewne away, and I will explain to you what's going on. So we walk through here. Actually, I'm going to run. Medi-Herb. Just like it's the complement to the Vit Seed, only for HP. And here's a monster egg. This is an egg of a really useless monster. And the way eggs work in this game is that it says cutesy. That's not what kind of monster's in here. Eggs come in egg patterns, like cutesy or flora or whirl or spiral or something like that. And what can be inside a spiral egg, for example, is a list of monsters. And you can kind of figure out what would be in a spiral egg because the game has rules that an egg will only spawn on a floor of monsters that are on that floor. So when you pick up an egg, it's gonna be something you've seen, usually, and then the pattern on the